Hey Sharif, what's happening, man? Hopefully you're doing good. Just want to say I'm really enjoying the YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying doing it. But there's still one thing which continues to confuse me. Now, all you hear on social media is you have to be in a calorie deficit and I should cut. But actually, my physique is quite scrawny. And I think that actually I need to put on some size despite still having some body fat on me. I'm confused. What should I do? Let's have a chat. Boom. Yes, team. What is happening? Sharif Lawton in the building. Hopefully you're well. And hopefully you've been digging the longer form content on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and indeed Spotify with the Fit After 30 show. Now, the very reason in which I am going through this question today in terms of a whole brand spanking new video on YouTube is because this is genuinely something which I get asked time and time again, at least 2 or 3 times a month. And also is something which literally stops my own potential progress in my tracks month after month until I got it right. So I really want to make sure that this video serves 2 distinct purposes. And number 1, gives you crystal clear clarity as to where you're at right now and what probably the best move should be for you and your physique and how to determine what you should do, but also why you should be doing it and why actually chasing 2 rabbits and therefore catching none is a really poor way of going about things, and it's just going to lead you to spinning your wheels, endless frustration, even if you are putting in the work when it comes to your own physique. If you're new to me, my channel, my name is Sharif Lawton, founder of a coaching company called 23 Lean, whereby we focus, yes, on the training aspect of things, of course, but also on the other 23 hours of the day, which most coaching companies leave you completely unattended with for a world-class result. So we go into things such as sleep management, stress management, nutrition, how to handle weekends, alcohol, binges, the all or nothing mindset, falling on and off the wagon, all that stuff to allow you to have a sustainable result long term rather than just a fancy before and after picture, leaving you to just rebound right back to where you were after the 6 or 8 week program. We also want to make sure that we dissolve the notion that your best days are behind you and that actually you can achieve an incredible result when it comes to your physique despite the different hurdles, roadblocks, injuries, and indeed time constraints in which you're probably under now that you're in your 30s. If that sounds like you and that sounds like the sort of content which you want to get into, then do consider hitting that little subscribe button, that little bell notification and what have you to make sure that you're not missing out as we make sure that we deep dive on a topic every single week to make sure that you're crystal clear moving forward and we really understand where things are at for you in this new paradigm of your life being so time poor but yet still wanting a cracking physique. So with that, let's get into today's topic, and that is, like I say, should I focus on gaining muscle or should I focus on losing body fat? And I think for me, the first obvious question that comes up is why not both? Why can't I do both at the same time? And the fact of the matter is we really need to make sure that we understand what we're talking about when it comes to building muscle or indeed losing body fat, because the reality is these 2 processes are very energetically different. And actually, if you try to do both at the same time, there's a very distinct subset of category of people that can do this. And I'm going to lay out, just in case you're in this category, there's also going to be a reason why probably you should focus on one thing rather than both at the same time, spinning your wheels and getting nowhere fast. You see, the reality is we get messages all the time from people who have seen our transformations, our before and after pictures, and they want to know exactly how I took and how we take people from, unfit, out of shape, unmotivated, low muscle mass, high in body fat, all the way to pretty much their dream physique in under a 90-day period. And the reality is it does feel like I've just waved my magic wand and off they go, but we've actually gone through distinct phases to make sure that we are locked and loaded when it comes to losing body fat, building muscle, and doing it in a very logical and succinct way to make sure that you have a fantastic outcome. And we do that via different methods depending on who the client is, where their starting point is, what their goals are, and what have you. But like I say, we make sure that we are very deliberate in what we're doing, when and why. So back to the first question, why can I not lose body fat and build muscle at the same time? Well, if you're in these 3 camps of people, you probably can. The first is the fact of you are completely brand spanking new to training, to nutritional optimization, to anything, and basically you're a blank canvas and you've got the ability then to really have the nice honeymoon period of doing both at the same time, which is really, really nice. Your body is not used to any stimulus, or anything you provide it with is now going to be novel. And actually, you can spend a good few months doing the 2 together, which is a really nice feeling. And in fact, I'll be honest, sometimes we inherit a client inside 23 Lean whereby they'll come in and just because we've optimized so many things in terms of protein intake, stress management, sleep, all that good stuff, as well as their training, and actually we kind of see a really nice recomp effect straight off the bat, which is nice, but I'll be lying to you and pulling the wool over your eyes if I said that we can do that long term, right? That's a short period, that's a honeymoon phase. And then we have to to get deliberate about what we're doing. Secondarily, if the subject is taking PEDs, steroids, drugs basically, and is messing with their own physiology, then of course you can have the unique ability to gain lean tissue and lose body fat. Full transparency, we do not deal with anyone taking PEDs or drugs. I do not take them myself, and we deal with Gen Pop natural people basically, and essentially we only have their own physiology to work with. And then lastly, if say for instance you have taken a good time away from the gym, it's been a layoff due to you being busy with work or kids or potentially being injured, or potentially just, you know, like I say, you've just taken some time off for whatever reason, despite having quite a good foundation, what you'll find is that it sounds like one of these throwaway things in which you hear on social media, like, oh, muscle memory. It is actually true. You can regain that lost tissue very, very easily, and again, burn body fat at the same time. So again, if you're coming back off a layoff, then you can achieve body recomposition, which is absolutely phenomenal, right? But unless you are in those distinct three categories, I highly recommend chasing after one goal first and then going into the other, because as I say, they're two very energetically different processes. The first, building muscle, requires you at the very least to be at caloric maintenance, if not a very slight surplus, to make sure that we're now providing the raw materials for growth. And again, to lose body fat, you do have to be in that calorie deficit, making sure that there's an energy gap and your body is using fat for fuel. No energy deficit, no fat loss. And the reality is, trying to do both at the same time can lead you to doing what I did, spin my wheels, get nowhere fast, and get back in December and look back at my training throughout the whole year and be like, do you know what, I look exactly the same because I didn't actually commit to the process. So all right, how do I determine, do I need to cut or do I need to bulk? Do I need to put on mass or do I need to actually shed body fat? Now the reality is, we want to make sure that we are in a couple of unique positions hormonally to make sure that we are primed for growth. Number one is going to make sure that we are providing all the nutrients we can towards the muscle building process, and the way in which that is going to be optimized is if you are leaner. So typically I like my guys to be roughly 10 to 12% body fat, my females around sort of 18% body fat ish. And you can use the chart I just pulled up right now to roughly gauge where you might be at right now before we even consider a gaining phase. Again, because number one, you're going to have a better nutrient partitioning ability. Basically, the food in which you do eat is going to be partitioned more favorably towards muscle tissue when you're leaner, which is fantastic. But also now you've got a bigger runway to grow. If we consider that some body fat gain is going to be the cost of doing business if you want to optimize muscle mass, well, then essentially if you're not cool with being higher in body fat than you are right now, then it makes no sense to start a gaining phase knowing that, you know, you're going to get higher in body fat and that definition is going to fade. And then just to make sure from there that, you know, you could be in a position already whereby you're lean enough to build, to grow, we want to make sure that the calorie surplus isn't so big that you're just basically gaining a bunch of body fat, because you cannot fast forward that growth. Now what I would say is that if you're at all confused about, all right, so I've got my rough body fat percentage and that's now going to tell me based on that recommendation, do I need to lose body fat first or go into a gaining phase, but I have no idea how to, you know, how much to eat, how to calculate my calories or what my energy needs. Again, go on to 23leanbysl.com/calculator and it's going to kick out your own energy needs based on your goals and give you a very, very good starting point. It's completely for free. I'll leave the link below, and essentially you can get going on your own fat loss or muscle building journey today, which is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Saying that as well, it's very important that you commit to the process. If the process is going to be cutting first, let's make sure that we cut to 10 to 12% body fat, 18% for a female, and then we can build up from there. And in terms of kind of what we're looking at roughly 1% of loss per week in a cutting phase and 1% per month gain when it comes to being in a muscle building phase, but more on that later. And in fact, if you watched the last YouTube video, I talked about a very distinct, very potent, very powerful, and just time efficient way to train when it now comes to you wanting to, you know, really maximize progress, but also acknowledging the fact that you're not an athlete, you can't spend 2 hours in the gym and all the rest of it with those antagonistic supersets. If you pair that style of training with the right nutrition, knowing whether you should be gaining or cutting and doing it in a way which basically kind of marries up the two nicely, the results in which you can get off the back of it are absolutely wild. And full transparency, what I've done is literally package this whole kind of concept up for you in a ridiculous Black Friday deal. There's a mini course in which I'm going to be releasing called Time Strapped and Jacked. I talked about it on the last video, but essentially this is now going to be out from Black Friday all through to Cyber Monday for 97% off. Honestly, it makes no sense for me to sell it at this, but I just wanted to do it it as a little bit of a promo and to get some beta testers, to get some feedback before moving on. Now, this is going to be something which you can literally purchase year round, but essentially at 97% off that, you know, the money from that is not going to be able to even buy me a flat white and an almond croissant, but the value in which it's going to provide for you is going to be absolutely insane. If you like the concepts in which I'm talking about, you like the principles behind it, but you just want to be able to implement rather than trying to patch the piece of the information together yourself, which you totally can, of course, and do it yourself. Because if you're anything like my clients, you want to operate with speed and indeed efficiency. So if that is a bit of you, keep an eye out on my socials, especially Instagram at Sharif Lawton, where I'm going to be promoting for literally 2 or 3 days from Black Friday to Cyber Monday, whatever it is. And then I'm going to pull it and it'll go right back up to the RRP. Like I say, 97% off is pretty much me giving it away for free. I think you're really going to enjoy that. Okay. And like I say, if you want a hand in knowing whether I should be gaining, whether I should be bulking, what I should be doing with my nutrition, rather than second guessing yourself and spending months doing the wrong thing because you weren't too sure, essentially as part of this kind of package or course or what have you, I'm going to be going in and looking at photographs, looking at current progress pictures of your physique and giving you my best guess in terms of, okay, this is where I think your calories should be, this is where I think your protein should be, and this is what I think you should be doing first and foremost before the next phase or what have you, so that you've got that crystal clear certainty and clarity as what you need to be doing, so you can stop the very things which were causing a massive handbrake in my own progress in terms of not knowing when to cut or indeed when to gain. Now, more videos are going to be on how to actually build a muscle building plan. Go ahead and look at about 2 videos back and we talked about how to set up your own perfect fat loss plan. And like I say, you've got access to that free calorie calculator, and I'm just going to be providing more value, more resources, more templates, more swipe files to make this thing very easy for you. So team, hopefully you enjoyed that episode. Again, find me on Instagram at Sharif Lawton. But anyway, we move, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one if we don't speak beforehand. Have a great one, and I'll talk to you soon in a bit.